As soon as he puts the under, he's going to bring in the T-Rex first. You can't overhook that. The number one sweep from the lockdown is the electric chair. Electric chair it's probably my most common sweep. I gave Joe his black belt in 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, and Jean-Jacques gave him his black belt in traditional BJJ. I am teaching Jiu-Jitsu today to these lovely blokes. Do you have an accent?
Normal British accent.
All right. Well, being a marijuana smoker myself, I think it's tragic. Matthew Riddle is a great fighter, and to cut him for taking medicine that kills no one, is medicine that shrinks brain tumors. He got cut for that. That's a shame.
When it gets to that kind of dogfight, it seems to be really square on. But I can't. Pulling guard seems.
Let me see what you got. Put the hand on the mat. Put all your weight, and then shoot your foot through. That's it. That's it. Gable grip for you. There you go. There it is. Nice. Excellent. Oh, you do know the lockdown. Okay. Since you don't know the lockdown, get on the other leg. Lockdown is outside leg in, both your legs the other way. There's only two ways. There you go. Now go under his leg, right? There you go. Remember that. That's the lockdown. Really simple. Lockdown is half guard with your outside leg coming in. Your outside leg is coming. If your outside leg stayed on the outside, that's traditional half. It's not wrong. It's just a different style. This is inside the house. This is outside. Guy comes over the house. He knocks on the door. Girl's on the inside. This is her house. He comes in on the inside. But it's her house. So she's on top. See that? Right? And then a lot of guys will want to go to the attic over here. No. We're going to go to the basement, watch some movies, and watch a DVD with a bottle of wine and some cheese. Okay? So outside leg in. Homeboy comes over. This is the chick's house. They go to the basement. Don't go to the attic. It's spooky. Okay? If this is a children's class, it would be you go over to grandmother's house, you go inside, grandma runs the household, and then you go to the basement to watch video games or cartoons. That's it. Royce Gracie's even said this in an interview where his father, Helio, the Grand Master of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, purposely didn't name every move and purposely didn't name every transition. Royce will tell you that. That's the son, one of the sons of the Grand Master. So to not name every move and not name every transition makes it harder to teach. And in America, we name everything to make it easier to convey the knowledge, to share the knowledge, to pass it on. And that's the only reason I named every transition, every move. There's still some moves that I need names because it's like I said, the sport is constantly evolving and changing and improving. So there's new twists, there's new transitions, there's new moves, and to maximize my teaching ability, you got to name everything. And that's all it is. And sometimes the names are cool, sometimes they're stupid, sometimes they're goofy, sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're amazing. But regardless, it's all about making it easier to share the knowledge and to pass it on, to teach. That's it. And 90% of transitions and moves were just not named. And in America, that's ridiculous. Maybe in a secret society where you don't want the information passed on, maybe it's, in that situation, it's a bad thing to name everything. But I'm all about sharing and teaching, so you gotta name everything. Every name has a different story. And like I said, some are cool, some are stupid, but in the long run, it doesn't matter what the name is. Just like in rock and roll, it doesn't matter what the name of the band is. It really doesn't. If the music is good, it doesn't matter. There's bands out there called Hootie and the Blowfish, Smashing Pumpkins. Those are some dumbass names. But once the band's established, the name is not dumb anymore. It's classic. So same thing with Jiu-Jitsu. Omoplata, which is a traditional Brazilian name, that sounds stupid. And so does Gogo Plata. That's ridiculous. But after you get used to it, it's just the norm. And it's not stupid anymore. And it's not ridiculous. Omoplata. When I was working for the UFC in the production truck, and someone would attempt an omoplata, and when I would tell that to the director, the producer, as we're putting together the replays, they would freak out and laugh. They're like, what did you just say? Omo, what? Plata, what? And for months, they were just laughing at this move. Eddie, what's the name of that Omoplata move? What is it, the Omoplata? And then after a while, Omoplata was just in their vocabulary. Eddie, you want us to show the Omoplata? Eddie, is this an Omoplata? And then it just becomes normal. So once you understand that, when you first name a move and you're like, oh my God, it's a stupid move. I know that it's stupid right now, but ultimately it's gonna stick and it's not gonna be stupid.
Can you make boxing better? Evolve, change boxing, create new punches? No. There's only certain ways to punch in boxing. There's no other way to punch. Or I'm going to invent a new punch. There's no new punch. There is a personalized style. One guy likes to fight with his hands down. One guy likes to fight with his hands straight up. But there's not a new way to punch. So yes, you can make the training better, but evolve in each way. In creating a new style, sorry, you gotta know the basics. It's because people want to do flying arm locks. Does that really work on the street? So what my father created was a martial art, was a style, a self-defense style. So you can defend yourself in a street fight situation. They want to create new names and put in new names. My father never put names on the moves. Why? Because it's not a memory game. If the guy do this, you do that. If he does this, you block like that. There's no name. It's not a memory game. It's not a, no, but that was created in America. They create okay, we got to name everything. We got to make curriculums of everything. Okay, but is that what my father was in favor of it? No.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is constantly evolving and constantly improving. Look at what Rafael Mendes has done to Jiu-Jitsu. If you can't see that he's improved Jiu-Jitsu on his own, or what about Marcelo Garcia? If you can't see that Marcelo Garcia has improved Jiu-Jitsu, I don't know what to tell you, man. Royce Gracie is a legend. I have the utmost respect for him. He's the reason why I got into Jiu-Jitsu. But to say you can't improve Jiu-Jitsu and to compare Jiu-Jitsu to boxing is beyond me. Because you may not be able to improve boxing, but boxing is like a two-dimensional sport. And Jiu-Jitsu is like a four-dimensional sport. It's constantly being improved upon and constantly being evolved. And to say it isn't is, man, words escape me to describe what that's all about. I'm completely baffled by what he said. Obviously, I'm a massive MMA fan, and the level of wrestling per fighter in MMA is very important. And when someone says they're a national champion in college in the States, that means one thing, which is great. And when someone says they're an Olympic champion in wrestling, that's a whole nother thing. So for MMA, again, I don't watch wrestling, I don't watch Olympic wrestling, but it's very important in MMA. Wrestling is massive. It's the foundation. So if that takes wrestling down a notch overall, then then MMA suffers. But wrestling is not going anywhere in college in the States, so it's not going to affect me that much. Although if it was up to me, I would obviously keep wrestling in the Olympics, or I would rather have Jiu-Jitsu in the Olympics, to tell you the truth. So I don't know. I don't know what the state is with Jiu-Jitsu in the Olympics, but I would watch Jiu-Jitsu in the Olympics for sure, especially no gi. That would be amazing. There's just not that many people that are masters of the rubber guard or masters of the twister. There's just not that many people. And most MMA fighters do not train their jiu-jitsu like they train their striking. Striking, most MMA fighters are, when it comes to their striking, it's mostly drills. It's not as much sparring. But jiu-jitsu, when it comes to MMA fighters, they're sparring most of the time as opposed to drilling like they would striking. And the only way you're gonna add new weapons and a new game to your arsenal is to drill. And generally, MMA fighters, when they work their jiu-jitsu, most of the time they're sparring. They're not drilling militant. So that's the problem. And the general rule of MMA is if you're on your back, you're losing the fight. So a lot of MMA coaches are telling their MMA fighters if you're training on your back, you're training to fail. So, and these MMA fighters are just listening to their coaches, and they're kind of glad. They're like, are you sure we don't have to really get really good off our backs? Because there's an awful lot to do. We got to work on our wrestling, our striking. We got to run all day. We got to sleep. We got to eat. Are you sure? Fighters want to hear that. They want to hear that training off their back is training to lose. So that gives them one less thing to worry about. But in reality, the only way you're going to add something like as complex as the rubber guard or the twister series to your game is lots of drills. And MMA fighters there's just such limited time. Their schedule's packed. So in order for an MMA fighter to add the rubber guard to their game, they're going to have to spend at least an hour or two a week drilling this style. And they're not doing that, and that's why you're not seeing that much of it. Vinny Magalhaes, he's a black belt of mine. He's also a black belt in traditional jiu-jitsu. His rubber guard's insane. There's Nick Lentz. He's worked with me. His rubber guard is looking pretty good. Jim Miller's rubber guard. He used rubber guard maybe a month ago against Joe Lozon, a month and a half ago or something like that. So Jim Miller's he's all over rubber guard. So is his brother Dan. But you'll see a lot of rubber guard from Jim Miller. If he ends up on his back, he doesn't end up on his back too much because of his dominant wrestling and his striking. But there's a whole gang of amateur fighters with insane rubber guards coming up. It's just going to take a while. Like I said, there's so much to work on in MMA. Fighters want to hear that they don't have to train off their back. They want to hear that. But in reality, there's only three ways to win. You win on your feet, you can win by taking someone down and being on top, or you can win off your back. Most fighters have two ways to win. Most fighters are working on two ways. They're working on the striking, and they're working on the takedowns and getting on top. The future of MMA is going to be fighters that have three ways to win. They can win standing, striking, they can win with takedowns, or if those two fail, they have a third way. They can win off their back. That's the future.